Hey guys, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Flash Season 6 review series. And today I'm going to be talking about episode 17, Liberation. And what seems like forever and what seems like an eternity in the Arrowverse world, that is, Barry Allen has finally started to figure out that Iris is not who she says she is. Finally, at last, now we're finally getting somewhere, and all I've got to say is it's about bloody time. Oh my god. But anyway, aside from all that, this was really good. Barry Allen of this episode felt like Barry Allen of old, like maybe season 2 and 3, or even season 4, somewhere around that time. Barry Allen had his head on straight. He was starting to figure out all the pieces of the puzzle, different times, different periods, and he was trying to figure out Iris disappearing and coming back and realising that his Iris never came back at all. Excellent episode. About time, and a turning point in this story arc, because I've said in the last couple of videos that I've never really cared for the Mirror stuff. I mean, I love Mirror Master. Mirror Master is one of the best Flash villains of all time. He's definitely up there with Gorilla Grodd and Reverse Flash. And I even said in a couple videos back that when I was getting into the Flash comics, Mirror Master for a long time was the main villain. And he was the enemy. He was the main enemy in the comics for a long, long time. And whenever I saw an old Flash comic from the 60s, you always saw Mirror Master. And we're finally seeing this story arc finally turning itself around and actually going somewhere, because I was just bashing my head against the wall. When's he going to find out? And finally, he's starting to learn that maybe things are not quite what they seem. But as I said, overall, excellent episode. Cecile played a big part in this. Nash Wells played a big part in this. Love it. Absolutely brilliant. So, enough of all that. Let's get into it. Let's talk about episode 17, Liberation. So this episode opens with Barry, Ralph and Cisco turning on a device that will serve as the artificial Speed Force. But after looking, things do start promising, but it ends up failing. Cecile tries to invite Barry out, but he's conserving his speed. Elsewhere, Mirror, Iris and Camilla confer with Eva to go forward with their plans. Cecile shows up and tries to talk to Iris about what had happened, but Iris isn't having any of it. She asks Cecile to feel what she wants and tells her, but Camilla cuts that short. Cecile goes home and finds Barry in the house with a ton of research spread across the room, and he announces that Iris isn't his Iris. Now, seeing the flip chart with all the scientific figures and mathematics and all the paper thrown across the floor, this felt like a throwback to nerdy Barry of old from like season 1 and 2, where Barry was trying to figure out the science of things and the mechanics of stuff. So this was a really welcome scene with Barry, and it was good to see him back on top form. Barry's theories about the fake Iris are wild, but he's definitely onto something. He thinks something happened to Iris when she went over to McCulloch Technologies, but Cecile isn't convinced. In the mirror dimension, Eva stops Iris from trying to smash their big mirrors so she can learn from it. Left alone, Iris discovers a button that opens a secret door. In the real world, Barry snoops into Iris's computer and finds the photograph with the false Iris that Camilla took before she disappeared, where she's sitting with Wally, but you see her in her mirror form. Mirror, Iris, Singh and Camilla work on the next step of Eva's plans, and it involves the evil Bloodwork. Now this is the first time we've seen Bloodwork since he was defeated at the end of episode 8. Meanwhile, at Star Labs, Barry confronts Mirror Iris and she says to him, "I'll show you who I really am," but when Barry hits her with the prismatic device, nothing happens. She then turns the device on him and he lights up instead, and they lock him up in the pipeline. Cecile does clues into the idea of mirror versions and starts to pick up on the fake Iris's emotions, cluing her in. In the mirror dimension, the real Iris discovers Eva's control room and discovers the truth about Eva's machine nations. It turns out Eva replaced Barry's prismatic device with one from her mirror dimension, thus tricking Cecile and Nash. The Mirror Squad goes to Argos to get Bloodwork to work with them. They need one drop of his blood. Camilla sacrifices herself to disable Bloodwork's containment unit and in turn attacks them. Mirror Iris reveals that what she really wants is to be alive and not Eva's puppet. Bloodwork puts himself back in his containment unit, having left his behind on Mirror Iris. Cecile lets Barry out of the pipeline and says that she believes him. Barry races home and finds Mirror Iris talking to Eva. Mirror Iris throws the blood on the mirror to work to create a safe portal for Eva and then goes to attack Barry. In the mirror dimension, Iris gets under Eva's skin. It gives Barry a chance to reach the Mirror Iris. She tells him to go find the real Iris, and having to fight Eva then shatters into a million pieces. Eva emerges from the mirror dimension and warns Barry to stay out of her way. Later on, Barry wakes up and pledges to find the real Iris while in the mirror dimension. Iris pledges to do the same thing by trying to find her way back home. And that's how we end episode 17. Very good episode. I know I did say before that I was quite annoyed with how they dragged the mirror story arc for so long, and it also got extra annoying that Barry Allen never figured out that Iris was not who she said she was. But I'm really glad that they finally did turn this story arc around and he finally did learn the truth. So it's going to be very interesting how this is going to play out for the next 2 final episodes, but it is going to be very interesting. So I'm going to wrap this up now. How did you think this episode was? Did you think it was good? Did you like the way Barry finally learned the truth about Iris's true identity? How do you think he will get her out of the mirror dimension? Do you also think Barry Allen and the rest of Team Flash will learn the whereabouts of Camilla? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will be back next time for another edition of the Season 6 review series where I'll be talking about episode 18. So until next time, take care everybody and stay safe.